So, welcome everyone. I'm really pleased to see we've got such a healthy number of people joining us this morning. So, I'm absolutely delighted that you found time in your busy day to join me. Okay, so just as we speak, I'm admitting lots of other people as well. So, let's just, without further ado, let's make a start as I'm doing that. Let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jo Newton-Stone, as we can see on the slide, and my experience is that I've been a teacher for 36 years now, working with children from early years, aged 3 years old, approximately up to children in year 9. And also, as well, for about 25 years, I've worked as a trainer for Pearson, working with IPLS for, gosh, about 13 or 14 years now, and also working as a chief examiner for Pearson. I do a lot of examining work. So my passions in teaching and the career path have been very closely linked to IPLS. So as a teacher, what did I do then? So I have a lot of experience working with children, as I said, from 3 years old, working with children in their early years of education. I also specialize in special educational needs and also with teaching English as an additional language. Um, in terms of today's session, I'm really looking forward to, okay, so I will be doing a presentation. We'll be talking about how we can combine the principles of and the structure of how we organise the international primary lower secondary curriculum, early years curriculum with Montessori principles. So still got lots of people joining us here. Let me just okay, so just working alone here, so I'm trying to kind of multitask, but we teachers are used to that all the time, aren't we? Okay, so it's my pleasure to work with Sri Lankan colleagues here. Some of you may very well have met me before. I've been privileged to visit Colombo on many occasions and do face-to-face training. So perhaps that might be the case. Okay, so as I said, we're going to be having a look at the combination of principles of the IPLS curriculum with Montessori, but also there's going to be an opportunity for you at the end of the session to interact with me, be that if you're brave enough to unmute yourself, or it might be in the chat box. I'm really going to focus on the content of what I'm delivering this morning and your afternoon with you. So I won't be having my eye on the chat too much during the session. Do make a note of any questions as they arise. It may well be that they are answered further on in the presentation. So do make a note of them. If you find it easy to pop that in the chat, I'll review the chat at the end as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's find out a little bit about you. So I've just introduced myself. It's only polite that we find out a little bit about you too. So we're going to be in our session today, in our webinar outcomes, as I've already outlined. Think about, I think one of the most important things I want to come out of this session in the presentation is the importance of a well-prepared early years environment. So it's about a well-organized environment, how we set that up, and there could be many kind of permutations of that, but also what is our role as a teacher? How can we best tailor our role so that we are acting as a guide and a facilitator in the IPLS Montessori classroom in terms of our approach. Okay, so let's, as I said, let's find out a little bit about you guys. Okay. So, as we've already said, you could raise your hand, but actually, I think with the amount of people that are joining us right now, it probably would be more efficient for me rather than to stop the flow of what we're talking about. But as I say, it's really important that you keep a note of any questions. Okay, so let me just find out. And I think the best way to do this, I will review the chat box for this, of course. The best way to do this is just get a little flavour of who is with us today. Now, ignore, oh my goodness, we've got 3 questions. Number 1. Okay, right. Big typo there for Joe. Just ignore the last 2. Number 1. Are you an IPLS school right now? So the answer to that is either going to be yes or no. So please just answer only that first question. Are you an IPLS school right now? Okay, so in the chat box, let's just have a look. Let's just check here what we've got. Okay, thank you. People are introducing themselves. We've got lots of yeses coming in here. Wonderful. Okay, so the majority of these answers are actually yes, which is great. So my next question should be famously known as number 2, but it still says number 1. Are you using IPLS with a Montessori approach? So that is my next question to you. So that's obviously either going to be yes or no. Are you using it with a Montessori approach? And I'm getting some responses here that are saying, yes, question 2, we follow EYFS, but not Montessori. Got some people replying yes. Okay. Oh, thank you. We've got a colleague, a fellow professional working in Jordan and being responsible for all the schools in Jordan. So thank you very much for joining us. It's our pleasure to be having you join us today. Okay, just very rarely the answer of no. Okay, that's wonderful. And my last question is the purpose really. Let's because of obviously reviewing responses, let's do this just as a yes or no. Have you joined the webinar to learn more about the IPLS early years curriculum? Is that your purpose? Or if it isn't really, if it's just actually no, I want to find out more about this and Montessori as advertised, that's fine. But you know, maybe if you are new to IPLS, maybe you are actually just wanting to find out in general about the IPLS approach. Wonderful. Okay, thank you to people who are, we've got lots of yeses coming in there, but you know, quite a few no's. I would say with my wonderful, very quick math skills, I would say that probably about 3/4 of us are actually interested in finding out more about the IPLS early years curriculum. So let's move on then. Let's progress with this. So in terms of the IPLS curriculum, let me just give you a few key pointers to what it is all about. So key components here, as we can see. We have 3 core subjects, as we can see on the slide. We have English and maths and the world around us. Now, in terms of literacy, bearing in mind language and literacy are key aspects that it's really important in the international setting for teachers to develop with their children. I would say that language and literacy really is a key driver of the IPLS early years curriculum, and so it should be. We've got many children working with English as an additional language, and that might be a second language, or it even might be a third or a fourth. So it's absolutely super important that we actually immerse the children in language and literacy through the English medium. And we also have, so in terms of early reading and writing, and in terms of maths, it's all about gaining an early understanding of number and spatial concepts. But it isn't just about that. One of the important things that, one of the things that we're really proud of with our mathematics curriculum is that we're actually focusing on the reasoning and the problem solving and the speaking and listening. So it's not just kind of knowing the subject, it's not just knowing what, we do here, it's about how we teach it. So it's about the strategies that we use to develop that mathematical thinking, that all-important mathematical thinking. Third of all, the world around us. So as we can see on the slide there, we've got 3 components: the personal, the social, and the emotional development, and creativity. That is an absolute key best practice approach for early years in terms of encouraging the children to be able to express their creativity across a wide variety of aspects. And that, of course, marries up beautifully with the Montessori approach. And last but not least, that all-important physical development. So it's thinking about, ourselves, our bodies, developing, we'll come into this in more detail later, but thinking about gross and fine motor skills development. And as the subject generally says, the world around us, really gradually moving from that kind of egocentric, the child, how I see myself, and finding my feet as a person and where I fit in terms of social interactions with others, gradually broadening that out into, kind of thinking about relationships with others and the local environment. So we do include a lot of aspects of PSHE, so personal social health education, geography, and science as well. So the curriculum, in a nutshell, it's therefore focused on developing both the child's personal development, but also the subject matter as well. Okay, so let's just have a look here. Gosh, we're almost up to 200 people. Wonderful. Right. Montessori, Maria Montessori. Her principles have been well embedded in many settings, in many early years settings for decades and decades, well over a century. She was absolutely groundbreaking in her day, but now she's really come into her own in terms of we all accept that her principles are really examples of best practice. So, it's marvelous to think that although the Montessori approach was introduced many, 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 many years ago in education, it's still underpinning the modern day early years curriculum. And, in essentially, in a nutshell, the Montessori practice is based on the fact that children they do need that opportunity to play, to explore and discover the world around them with increasing independence and creativity. Maria Montessori, she believed that play is the work of children. We tend to kind of think of those as two separate contexts, but actually playing is work for the children. It's the way that they are developing themselves. And the practitioner's role is to facilitate, to extend, and to develop children's play, creativity, and thinking. And how do we do this with our children, our very youngest and most precious little people that come into our schools for us to work with? We do this by building trusting relationships with the children. We work on developing their communication and language skills, and we really focus tightly on scaffolding and extending their play and creativity. So that's absolutely the foundation of everything. And I always, in my many years of teaching, my own practice and leading and managing departments, not just early years departments, but actually departments of older primary children and lower secondary children. When I talk to practitioners, when I talk to teachers, I say, very, very clearly, loud and clear, very strongly, that actually the early years is the foundation of all education in terms of active learning, in terms of self-development and increasing independence and being hands-on and being critical thinkers. That starts at the beginning. And if we do a great job with our children, if we are implementing the curriculum carefully alongside that Montessori approach, we're actually forming the strong foundations for a fantastic education as the children progress through their school career. So, I stick my neck out and I say, well, actually, the early years is probably the most difficult role in school. So if you're doing that right now, you can give yourselves a pat on the back. It's the hardest thing, the hardest role I've ever done in practical teaching. And to do it well, you're doing those children and their future teachers a fantastic service. Now, something to remember. We said that play is the work of children. I want us to bear in mind that children will play the same thing over and over again if the adult does not extend their thought processes. So I'm talking about independence and the child learning with lots of opportunities, but the adult is absolutely crucial to extend, to dip in there when appropriate and to extend their thought processes. Quote here, Montessori herself. They are not just empty vessels. It's not about filling up your car with the gas or the diesel or whatever, charging your EV vehicle these days. It's about active learning. Children learn best when truly engaged. But what's in it for them? Why are they doing this? Why should they want to do this? How can we stimulate them? How can we hook them in? How can we make them have that big smile on their face and be, dancing into class and wanting to engage with everybody around them, including the teacher? What are they interested in? Children are obviously of a particular age when they enter our settings, but it's about the stage that they're at. Children learn at their own pace. It's stage, not age, and we need to really remember that. While some rote learning may have a place, it is not really learning with true understanding. Children need much, much more than memorization based on repetition. They need much, much more. They need a co-construction approach, allowing children to build on what they already know, and that is the skill of the teacher. And at the heart of that, the best way to tease out those connections and linking of ideas in young children is via play. In the time we're together, we're going to explore in more depth how we can align IPLS, excuse me, IPLS with key Montessori principles. So this is going to be the heart of what we're talking about this morning. Let's begin with the key area of language and literacy. As I said at the very beginning, in terms of the structure of IPLS and those three core things that we do, language and literacy is really key. So we have an approach which is I say, I being the teacher, we say, we and the children together, or if I'm working one-to-one, and you say. So you do it or begin to do it by yourself. So teacher models, we do it collaboratively, we say it together, and then we give children opportunities to do that independently. And that is a very good approach for developing language skills. So for example, the teacher might say a sentence, then they'll say it together, and then the child will say that sentence independently. And that is a really good, supportive, scaffolded way of learning and developing new vocabulary in context. It's important to remember that playful learning opportunities do need to be explicitly planned for and made available. People, those practitioners that are not as highly experienced as we are or not familiar with this particular age phase, they will think, okay, oh, this looks just, lots and lots of playing. It looks a little bit chaotic sometimes. It can be a little bit noisy. What's going on here? And actually, there you can go and speak to any skillful practitioner in the early years context and say what's going on, and they will know exactly what they've planned, why they've planned it, why those children are doing that activity. It's not about keeping them busy, it's there for an absolute reason. So whilst playing, the adult can do that modelling that we talked about, how to communicate and extend play, and then using careful questioning can be we can use that to actually elicit, to find out what those children understand. Now, what I'm let me just give you some examples of questions here. What is happening in your picture? Why did you use this to build your model? What words can you use to tell me about? Could you have done this in a different way? Did you think about doing it in a different way? Why did you choose this way? What else could you have done? So those are thinking back to critical thinking and key questions, open questions that encourage more in-depth thinking. Think about Bloom's taxonomy. We are right from the early years starting to ask those questions and try to get the children to engage with them. This is a really profound quote, I think. I'll leave this with you for a second or two. Learning is easier if it's done together, as simple as that. We can learn, we being the children, we being older children, we being adults, we all can learn such a lot through watching, mirroring, and copying others. We all do it. We all take example from people that we're interacting with from time to time, depending on the context, depending on the occasion. Children do need to learn to use language socially in many different ways. They need to start learning to negotiate, to ask questions themselves, and that is a really difficult skill, and we need to be really building on that. We don't want a situation where it's just the teacher asking the questions all the time. We want the children to be able to develop that themselves, and that is not easy, and that does not come overnight. That is something that we have to build step by step. Information sharing, we need to support children to build their emotional literacy, talking about their feelings, why they might feel like that, why they might, how those feelings lead to actions and behaviours. And play can be extended when children are together as children. And then they will be able to build and elaborate on each other's ideas and thoughts. So just think about how we bounce ideas off colleagues. If I've got something really tricky I'm trying to get my head round, and I really want to, I could kind of speak to myself. I could kind of talk aloud. I've I guess I've got that more abstract concept than children would have, but actually it really makes sense to me when I'm talking it through with a colleague. So I think this quote is really profound. So, language and literacy. Based on the Montessori principles, our IPLS curriculum of language development is supported very, very much through hands-on learning. And to integrate this into the IPLS curriculum, the reasons that we do this are very much because research has shown that when children are engaged in activities that require movement, listening, and talking, then this enhances their language development. It activates multiple areas of the brain, and the children are more likely to retain that information. That's something that I call sticky learning. It's more likely to live with them and stay with them and not immediately be discarded in the little delete bin in the brain. So we need a lot of opportunities for role play, and this is very much supported ideas for, scaffolded ideas for teachers to be able to provide those opportunities. So things like role playing, things that the children wouldn't normally do. So being in a situation of maybe being in a medical clinic with nurses and doctors, or perhaps a hospital, maybe a police situation, shopping situation, things like that. it's really important to give the children those opportunities so that they can develop that vocabulary, because they wouldn't in their everyday interactions be able to come across that. And then, of course, when they're experiencing that outside school with their parents, then they are going to be able to, it's going to be a self kind of renewing regeneration of things that we've input and supported them with to develop in school. So both out of school and in school opportunities to work together on that. Retelling stories is absolutely, absolutely key. Being able to engage with, read, listen to, hear, multisensory, obviously at this in this age group with the very early years, reading skills, independent reading skills are just beginning to develop, but just that opportunity to not just hear books that you've read, it could be stories that they can access from a storyteller that's recorded, for example, but having a go at narrating things as well. Let me come on to opportunities to mark make. We need to have those everywhere, on the tables, on the floor, outside, on painting easels, on the wall outside, using friendly environmental things that obviously aren't going to damage anything, such as chalks, providing different notebooks. Children love different types of coloured paper, notebooks, post-it notes, sticky notes, pads, and so on. Providing the children with the opportunity to undergo and learn reading skills through a systematic phonetic knowledge, a systematic phonetic program is really important too. Really just to list, having chalkboards, having sand, having magnetic letters, having alphabet jigsaws, so that the children can touch and feel and manipulate those letters. They are not just written with a pen or a pencil on paper. So lots of opportunities for them to do that, because as we know, children don't just learn sat at their desks. In fact, that is quite often detrimental if they're made to sit. Children's attention span is generally as long as their age. So a 4-year-old, you'll generally, if you're lucky, get 4 minutes of concentration. Children have got physical needs. They can get very fidgety. They don't just learn at their desks, so allow them that movement. Do try and mirror direct input with resources that embed direct teaching through play. So you will see with the IPLS, if you've not seen it before, if you are using it, you'll be very familiar, but you will know that there are direct inputs from the teacher using resources to start the children off with a particular concept, and then you will provide independent opportunities to consolidate what you've given as a direct input. So let me give you a practical example. You know the story about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Putting out teddies, bowls, spoons, oats for the children to orally retell that story with props. So they've heard the story from you. You've shown them pictures, you've put all your expressive reading and gestures, non-verbal gestures into reading to the children with excitement, using different voices. But then when the children are going off to have a go at retelling, you've got those physical objects so that you can reinforce, this is a spoon, this is called a bowl, these are oats, for the porridge and so on. Or perhaps as another example, if you've taught phonic lessons on the phonemes s, a, t, then you can place those letters S-A-T, s, a, t. You can place those objects with the initial sounds for the children to independently sort. Okay, so let's think about how we can make this an active experience. So we've got lots of examples on the slide here. Things like circle time, that development and repetition of new language, which is going back to what we were just saying about role play as well on the previous slide and on this one. Explicit social activities, such as circle time. They are so important to provide the children with opportunities for talking and active listening as well. So not just, thinking about when they're going to talk and when it's their turn, but also actually listening to other children and what they've got to say too. And then, those moments that things arise in the classroom, maybe they've been out to play and there's been a little dramatic happening outside. Somebody has maybe done something unkind to another child and it's made them unhappy. There's a little bit of an incident, shall we say. These things are happening lots and lots of times. Things that arise outside or within the classroom, those emotional situations, people, children who are crying, children who are angry and things like that. Use those situations, use those as a vehicle, spend the time. Don't just see it as a distraction from the lesson that you're going to do. Give them the time, because actually what you're doing is covering this emotional development. So lots of opportunities to have group situations. It could be within doing art or little team games, things that they wouldn't normally do in their everyday life, different clothes, different props, as we talked about previously. A really rich environment, having their favorite books. And a really lovely thing is to have things like teddies and dolls, or particular little characters, little puppets and things that you might have in your classroom for them to read to. Let the children be a teacher. Let them pretend to be a teacher, because some of you may know of Edgar Dale. Perhaps you'd like to look him up, but he's got some really fascinating statistics about how we learn. And Edgar Dale says we remember 95% of what we teach others. So, hey, let's let the children be the teacher. Let's, have them teaching the teddies. Let's have them teaching those teddies and being able to explain things. Okay. Writing for a reason. I'm just going to pick out that particular one on this slide because I'm absolutely passionate about that. I am passionate about that all the way through to somebody who might be in my training sessions and then might be 90 years old. Do not ever ask anybody, and especially these little children, to do some writing just for the sake of it. It's not stimulating, it's not motivating. Why are you asking them to do it? It's got to be a reason. Is it going to be something that they're going to share with their parents? Is it going to be something that the principal is going to come in and have a look at? Is the teacher going to put their writing in a little book with everybody else's and make it look really special? Is it going to be something that's going to be shared later on? It could be, for example, if you are going to, if you are learning about animals and you are a little bit worried about how, some animals are going to become extinct, polar bears, for example, it could be that, we're actually doing some very simple writing that is starting to take a letter format. And that can be to the children to know that it's not just going to stay in their classroom, it's going to be sent to the zoo or the animal centre or something like that, but writing for a reason. Okay, let's look at maths now. Let's move on and look at maths. So through maths, we can explore the progression from concrete exploration to abstract concepts. We take them on that Bruner journey. Early math skills are built upon by developing counting. So lots and lots and lots of counting. Cardinality, knowing knowing the last number is that we've counted is the total. So if I'm counting the buttons on my coat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the total. That's the cardinality. The ordinality. When I'm counting, I don't go 1, 1, 4, 3, 2, 5. I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Recognizing the same and different, starting to pick out patterns and measurement. And we encourage these skills by counting anything and everything. Children in line, children with looking to get their fruit at snack time, cubes, sweets, even a wonderful activity actually when we were looking at magnets and different materials and how magnets will draw certain metal objects to them, having paper clips. How many paper clips can you pick up with that magnet? How many paper clips do you think you might be able to pick up with a small magnet or with a larger magnet? So again, thinking about concepts of larger and smaller. They don't know that they're counting when you couch it in opportunities like that. And of course, singing. I absolutely adore singing. I've got an absolutely massive repertoire of counting songs that are great for rhythm and repetition, and I'm sure you do too. And it really helps the children to grasp the sequence of numbers. I'm not going to burst into song for you this afternoon. You'll be really pleased to know, but that don't underestimate them. Lots of number games, counting on and back, taking turns, learning that when you lose, it's not the worst thing in the world. Emotionally learning to lose gracefully, giving the children fluency with numbers, asking lots of open-ended questions. Why do you think that? What is the pattern? Will it always be like that? What if I do this? How do you know? And really, focusing on those Montessori principles will cement the children's understanding of basic concepts. So, our quote, Alyssa Haywood, lots and lots of involvement in early years. Alyssa has, if you do a Google on her, she contributes regularly to the Eye on Early Childhood blog and so on, but lots of research, a great practitioner. So, a wonderful quote here. And that is just the approach that we have with our IPLS curriculum. We're not rote learners, we have an inquiring mind. And I'm constantly questioning my children. How do you know that 4 is a bigger number than 2? Show me. Show me how you know. Can you explain what you just did? Which brings us to mathematical thinking. So just a recap on some of the things that we've already talked about, but also introducing some more ideas. We already said about the songs and the dances, the games, but using that craft, playing with shapes, that counting all the time, as we said, cooking, that is wonderful. So you can talk in terms of starting to look at standard measures, but using things like, let's put a little teaspoon of that into the mix. Let's, we just need a smaller amount. We need a little bit more. Oh, we need about half the amount. What does half the amount look like? And we can show that, we can model that and demonstrate it. But cooking is always wonderful. And of course, children and adults love to eat. If there's something at the end of it, remember at the beginning I said, what's in it for me? I'm going to get some gorgeous cookies out of this. So it's going to be fun, fun, fun all the way. And thinking about how we can use Montessori in here, the maths boards, the Montessori maths boards, to really help us visualize addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If it says in the IPLS curriculum, use counters, do look for opportunities all the time to use that Montessori equipment as well, because that can really, be super supportive to consolidate and to help the children to practice. Set up problem-solving stations where the children are working on puzzles and logic games, and there are lots of those recommended in the early years curriculum, the IPLS curriculum. Maths, as I keep saying, and I make no apologies for this, repeating myself, maths should be used to visualize addition, it should be used to help us to solve problems. So these misconceptions that might arise from rote learning, there will be gaps, but they do need to be addressed early. Most importantly, maths should make us think. It's the basis of early problem solving. Research has shown that maths skills, and this really blows my mind, this fact, math skills are a key indicator of success later in life. So this is how we do it in the curriculum, moving from the concrete to the pictorial to the abstract. And we've just got a clear illustration on that slide. We'll explore these a little more. So in the concrete, the children get the opportunity to handle, move and play with real objects, and using manipulatives at this stage is so important. Getting children to count in a line or a circle, as we've already said, that one-to-one correspondence is about developing the numberness. So the fiveness of 5, for example, number sense, counting, touching objects, visibly seeing and getting a feel for the number. This is the doing stage. And then the pictorial stage. It's the seeing stage. At this stage, they get used to drawing their own number sentences. So 3 plus 1 can be drawn as 3 donuts and 1 cake makes 4 altogether. And the abstract, the final stage. So once the children have learnt that objects and pictures can be counted or seen, they can move beyond that stage of sensory perception. They can use numbers and symbols to carry out mathematical operations using those more formal methods. And last but not least, let's move on to the world around us, where we get to explore the personal, social and emotional development. And this really makes fantastically strong links directly with the Montessori principle of respect. Respect is about a child feeling that it is valued. We all need to be valued. Within your setting, do you greet each child daily, busy as it might be, and lots of children as there might be? Do you listen? Do you truly listen to and answer questions? Do your children feel safe? Do they feel able to express themselves in your class? Is your language positive? We're not going to be saying, don't do that, don't do that. Say, I really like it when you do that. I love that you are being kind. I love that I've just seen you sharing with your friend. Every child is different, but, that is to be celebrated. Children do learn best when they're with people that they trust and when they feel valued and when they feel safe. So that principle of respect. some ideas here. I'm just going to go quiet for a second or two just for you to just have a look at how we can develop that respect. Group projects, role playing, having class meetings, promoting those social skills, that emotional intelligence, and giving them that opportunity to understand and verbalize their feelings is really important. Yes, I am feeling like this. What words, how can I express how I'm feeling inside? Are there symbols? Are there pictures? Are there things? If I can't find the actual words, if I can't verbalize, well, how can I show it? Are there symbols in the class that I can show the teacher how I'm feeling? And to be able to integrate that principle of respect with the IPLS, organize those group activities, organize those collaborative projects, do facilitate role-playing scenarios that teach empathy and how to resolve conflict. As we said earlier, the truer that it is, the more authentic, the better when it's happening as it's happening with a real life situation. Have regular class meetings where children can voice their thoughts and feelings. Children do need to feel listened to. Creativity, the use of individual ideas to create something, because we know that children are naturally inquisitive. They love to explore. They find wonder and excitement in the most ordinary things, cardboard boxes. Interestingly, I've been observing, I've got some new cats. They're a little bit older than Kitten. We actually adopted them and they're 4 years old now, but looking at them compared to my old cats, it's amazing. A piece of string, a little toy and things like that. The wonder and the excitement. Look at your classroom. Think about the environment. It needs to be enticing and exciting. I want to touch it. I want to go there. I want to look at that. Are things at their level? Can they reach things, displays and drawers? Have they got a choice of tools, of mediums? Can they put on, for their independence, put on their own aprons? Can they go to find their own resources? And remember, each child's work should look different to reflect them. We don't want to see 30 children's pictures or poems looking exactly the same. Okay, so we've got 4 key areas here. We need to provide a variety of art supplies and allow free-form art creation. We need to try and integrate movement and music opportunities, and of course the imaginative play and the storytelling. How to put the wow in your classroom. Don't be afraid of mess. Give them sensory experiences. Have real objects for children to see, touch and engage with. Lots of things like fruit, pumpkins, or any other fruit, let them have magnifying glasses, let them scoop out the seeds, let them make patterns, let them carve with safe tools, encourage those sensory experiences. A multi-sensory environment will lead to them remembering more what they've seen, what they've heard, what they've touched, smelled, or tasted. Physical development. Let's have a look at that. So fine and gross motor skills in pretty much everything we do in our daily lives. Writing, dressing, eating, opening cupboards, tying shoelaces, walking, climbing stairs, carrying things. And physical development in Montessori involves practical life activities that refine motor skills and independence. So we'd be looking to see activities like pouring, cutting, buttoning, gardening. That's wonderful, just to help develop those fine and gross motor skills. And to integrate that with our IPLS curriculum, we need those practical life stations, activities for them, such as pouring rice, cutting paper, buttoning fabric. Lots of outdoor activities such as nature walks, making dens, gardening. Do plan explicitly for physical opportunities and games that promote coordinated movements. So, developing physicality. So, fine motor control. I'm just going to put that summary slide there and leave you a few seconds to have a look at that. We absolutely, absolutely need fine motor skills to be developed to improve that child's dexterity. Not only dexterity, but actually strength in their fingers and thumbs, holding a pencil, eating with a knife and fork, twisting door handles, developing those muscles. It's all about developing the muscles. Movement. Movement is a must. A Montessori famous quote here. Most children cannot sit for longer than their cognitive age. We've already said that. A 5 or 6-year-old, 5 or 6 minutes. Think about your inputs, and it's no wonder if they're a little bit long that the children are getting fidgety. So just some examples to illustrate what we've said there. Threading beads onto string, using pipe cleaners and sticks. Tweezers are wonderful to pick up little tiny objects, coins, pom-poms, coins, pegboards and Lego, Play-Doh, squeeze it, roll it, ball it, pegs on a line, clothes on a line, number lines, all of those things, using chalks, crayons. Start with big movements and refine. And gross motor control, just a summary slide here. We really need to develop those large body muscles, the arms, the legs, the torso. Children need to move and have access to open spaces to allow them to run, to jump, to throw and catch. And our play equipment can be chosen carefully and used carefully to develop that strength and coordination. And more than ever, since COVID, children have become really much more sedentary, and developing their gross motor skills in your early years environment has never been more important than it is these days. So we can plan for physical development in sorry, I just lost my PowerPoint there. Okay, we can plan for physical development in a variety of opportunities, such as PE and unstructured times like playtime or lunch breaks. We can, don't forget brain breaks as well, cross-lateral moves, running on the spot, balancing on one leg, mindfulness, breathing, yoga. Give those children the opportunities to develop in PE, the arm strength, crawling through tunnels, running and hopping and skipping, and balance. And our classroom setup is really important as well. Clutter is not good because it can, if it's not tidy and well organized, and I'm not saying, you know, that it shouldn't be messy, but I'm just saying lots and lots of clutter, overstimulation is not good. Less can be more. It can be really too stimulating. The important thing is, can they access things? Are furniture and equipment appropriate for the child's level? This will increase their independence. Is it a light environment? That's good for well-being. Is it practical? So just some tips here for structuring your classroom. Not going to say too much about that because I think it's self-explanatory. the role of the teacher. I think we've woven in a lot of aspects, or a lot of aspects already about that. But as a facilitator, you are there. Remember, the children will just play and do the same thing, but you are there to tap the child's interest, ask those open questions, develop that understanding to try and make the children feel like lifelong learners. And it's such a vital role in your teaching style. Observation, continuously observing, individualized support. Okay, so over to you guys now. I'm just going to monitor the chat. If anybody wishes to unmute themselves, let's see if any questions are arising.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm John from Kenya.
Hello. Well,
Hello.
what's your
Yeah,
question, please?
yeah, I'm saying I'm John from Kenya.
Hello, John. Welcome. What's your
Thank
question?
you.
Yes.
My question is, I've seen that the training is okay and everything that is entering it. I've really learned from it. I have a takeaway home,
Yeah.
but I'm requesting, can you have us training on the same this time, specializing on the SEND,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
the special needs student.
Yes, John. We do indeed have the IPLS curriculum has a super um, professional development program, and I guess it's a bit like a menu of courses that you can select from. And today's webinar touching on early years, for example, we also have a 3-hour course which will take you carefully through the Pearson primary and lower secondary early years curriculum, but also special educational needs and disabilities. There is also a separate 3-hour course for that. So
Thank
do
you.
speak to your regional representative and do request that one of our excellent team, we have lots of expert trainers in all these areas, and they will be delighted to book in to do some training with you.
Thank
Okay,
you very much.
you're very welcome. Any other questions? It's lovely to hear John opening his mic and speaking to us as well. Thank you for that. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Hopefully, I'm sorry, we have run over a little bit. So much to tell you. As you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about early years because, as I said, it's if we get this right, we've really provided a wonderful opportunity for a basis, a foundation for the whole of the child's educational life experience. Okay, so given that I don't see any more questions coming in, I'm going to wrap up the session there. And I just want to say thank you so much for your participation. I'm really absolutely delighted to see so many people attending. And primarily, I think we have lots of Sri Lankan people, but also we've got professionals also from Jordan. And I think, John, you said Kenya, been to Kenya. Several times as well, and probably will be visiting later this year. So maybe we'll get to meet in person. Hope to see you soon, either face to face or at other webinars. So just got one thing in the chat here. Let's just check. Oh, thank you very much. Just got a nice thank you there. So I'm going to close the session very shortly. Okay. Thank you so much.